Hello, welcome back to Dark Coconut. My name is Elia, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the most powerful African gods in African mythology. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or juice, anything, and let's get into this video. So we all know Thor, we know Hades, Poseidon, Aphrodite. When a woman is beautiful, people say she looks blessed by Aphrodite. When a man is handsome, they say he looks like a Greek god. But do you know Oshun? Do you know Oya? Do you know Shango? These are African gods. Just as powerful, just as fascinating, and just as beautiful. African mythology was erased and replaced. We were told it was evil. But how can something be evil if we don't even know about it? And that's why today I'm gonna talk about one of the most powerful African god, and his name is Shango. Shango was born into power. His father was Odigibo, a king, and his family line connects to Olamiyan, one of the most powerful kings in Yoruba history. Some traditions say that Shango's mother had difficulty conceiving. They say she waited a long time and pregnancy didn't come easily for her. So Shango's mom sought help from Oshun, the goddess of fertility and childbirth. And Oshun gave her specific instructions to follow, which she did, and only then did she conceive. Which is why Shango is considered a blessing from the goddess, which explains where his powers comes from, which later on made him become a god himself. So as a young prince, Shango did not grow up learning how to obey. Instead, he grew up learning how to command. As a child, Shango couldn't sit still. He liked noises, movement, and competition. Shango was physically strong early on. Not unusually tall yet, but active, strong, and restless. People noticed early on that Shango couldn't respond to fear the way other children did. And elders would say things like, this child will either protect this kingdom or destroy it. When his peers fought, Shango didn't step back. He stepped in and he usually ended it. As he grew older, Shango was known for his presence. He was tall, he had broad shoulders, he had very strong arms. He was not refined and he wasn't soft. He was built like someone who's used to carrying weapons, if you see what I mean. His face was very expressive. You could always tell what mood he was in. When he was angry, there was no guessing, and when he was happy, people relaxed. It is said that he was that type of person when he entered a room, you felt like he's sucking the air out of the room. Like people stayed quiet, people didn't move, in his presence. When Shango became king of Oyo, people expected strength, and they got it. Decisions were fast, and punishments were harsh. If someone disobeyed the law, the punishment was public. And Shango believed fear kept order. There's a story where a man accused of betrayal begged for mercy. Shango paused, he listened, then he ordered punishment anyway. Not because he was cruel, of course, he's a god, but because he believed authority only works when people believe you use it. But this is where the problem started, because Shango did not know when to soften, and power without balance, it only creates enemies. Shango had multiple wives, and it was normal for a king back then. But Oya was different. Oya was not like the others. She did not submit quietly, she questioned him, and she argued back. There's a story where Shango made a decision about war without consulting her first, and she confronted him publicly, and not gently either. She told him his decision would cost lives unnecessarily, and Shango was furious because nobody ever talks to him like that. But guess what? He did not even punish her. If it was any other wife, she would have been dismissed, but Oya stayed. Their relationship was intense. They fought, they separated, they reunited. There's this well-known story where Oya leaves Shango after one argument and goes to live somewhere else. But Shango later on followed her, not as a king demanding obedience, but as a man trying to win her back. And that's why she mattered, because she made Shango feel like she's his equal. And since Oya is the goddess of wind, like one of her elements is wind, and Shango is the god of lightning, I will get to that later on. There was this saying that wind comes first, that's Oya, and lightning comes after, that's Shango. That's how they were described as a god and a goddess, as a couple. As Shango's rule continued, cracks appeared. Some chiefs felt ignored, some felt like Shango ruled with fear instead of respect, and some just wanted his throne. So a rebellion started, and this was not just one battle, it was a slow betrayal. Support faded, his orders were questioned, his authority weakened publicly, and for a man like Shango, this was unbearable. And this is where stories diverge. One version says that Shango hanged himself, not out of sadness, but out of shame, because in Yoruba culture, a king losing his authority was worse than death. Another version says something else happened. Shango used fire or spiritual power recklessly. Buildings burned, innocent people died, and then the people turned against him. In this version, Shango didn't die, he ran. And this is where worshippers step in, because they reject both theories. They say Obakoso, meaning the king didn't hang. They believe Shango disappeared, transformed, or was taken into a spiritual realm. And that phrase is still spoken today, not as poetry, but as correction. When Shango disappeared, people expected silence, but what they got instead was lightning. After Shango vanished, strange things started to happen. Lightning struck to places connected to him, compounds of people mocking him, places of people who said he was weak, and places where his name was insulted. People noticed a pattern. They started saying, "That's not weather, that's Shango answering." In Yoruba belief, lightning is not neutral, it doesn't just happen. So people began leaving offerings where lightning struck, they began calling his name during storms, and slowly Shango stopped being remembered as a fallen king and started being feared as a force. As a god, Shango represents very specific things, such as justice, authority, truth, punishment, masculinity, confidence, and command. But most of all, Shango represents consequences. People believe Shango punishes liars, oath breakers, abusers of power, and people who swear falsely in his name. And that's why elders say you should never call Shango if you're lying. Shango is the god of thunder, lightning, and fire. He controls storms, especially in partnership with his wife Oya, the goddess of wind. The most important symbol of Shango is the double-headed axe, called Ose. It doesn't represent violence, it represents justice. One side rewards, the other punishes. Shango is also associated with thunderstorms, stones believed to be left behind when lightning strikes. These are seen as physical signs of his presence. His colors are red and white, red for fire, anger, and power, white for justice and balance. And on top of that, Shango loves dance, drums, and loud music. That's why his worship ceremonies are never quiet and they are full of loud noises, movement, and energy. Fast drumming is his way of connecting with his people, and in a sense, sound equals his energy. Ceremonies involve strong drumming, fast rhythm, and sometimes worshippers enter trance. Offerings include food, alcohol, and objects linked to fire or iron, and rules are very strict. Worshippers believe Shango can give justice, protection, confidence, authority, and success. But they also believe he takes arrogance, dishonesty, and disrespect. Shango is not about comfort, but he's about alignment. Shango is originally from West Africa, especially among the Yoruba people of Nigeria. But through slavery, his worship spread across the Americas, such as in Cuba, where his name is Chango, and in Brazil, where his name is Sango, but also in Trinidad, where he kept his original name Shango. Today, Shango is also worshipped in Europe and North America through the African diaspora religions in different names, different languages, but still the same god of thunder, lightning, fire, and justice. If you stayed to the end, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment down below which African god you would like me to talk about in my next episode of African Gods. Bye!